welcome to my channel. Well, I thought I would show you how this thing works so far and any issues I've come across. One of them is clamping it. You know, they tell you open the jaws up and run the spine all the way down there and clamp it like that. Well, if you do that, a lot of times your blade sits in here pretty deep and these teeth stick out. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but I've sanded that edge. And the lowest I've gone is like 20 degrees on this sharpener. And it can go down to 15, is what it says. So the lower the angle that you're sharpening, like this is a higher angle, the closer you're going to come to smacking these. So what I did on this particular one, I haven't sharpened it on this system yet. This is what I did before that. I lined it up parallel with this cutting edge here, and I moved the blade out to give me enough room so that my stones are actually contacting, you know, the thing. All right, so it's pretty easy after that. This is just the screw tightening thing. It just wedges it down. So you don't have two different things like on the Lansky. You would have this little center screw, and then you would have another adjustment screw, at least on the one I had. All right, the way they instruct you to do this is make sure this dot is lined up first and the blade is going off this way. And that's so that when you push this button in the back and rotate it, it goes around and you have no problem. If you set it up the other way and you go to try to rotate it, you could, you could set it up with the dot not facing you as long as the blade's going this way. As long as you know that the length of the handle may come into contact depending on what you're doing with this, so you may have to tilt the thing back. All right, because this thing's already been profiled before, I'm not going to set it up with the 320. And that's another thing I like about these. With the Lansky system, every time I would have to, they give you more rods, but I would have to take it out, put the rod in there and level it and everything. This one, when you want to change your grit, see there's 320. We want to go to the 600 one, just to do there's a little click so that it, lines up in place. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this on there and look. I'm going to look sideways at the blade. Let me get this over here where we can see. All right, focus, you idiot. All right, you see that? There's not much room between. Let me get my pointer. Now I switched back to the 320 because this area right here needed a lot more profiling, and you're just going to be filing it longer and longer if you've got a lot. If the bevel's not 600 is is more for when it's matched up. You're just starting to polish it. It still takes off metal, but not like 320. Now, I'm still working on the edge, Get as zoomed in as I can. I could hook up the magnifying glass thing, but I mean the super duper thing, but I'm using the 320, and then down here is fine. I think you can see how it's shiny all the way through, but right there, you see that? You see those unevenness, like the coloration? That's what you should work your blade down as much as you can with a coarse stone to get your profile, and then after that you just refine it. One of the things I also do is when I'm cutting is I'll go like one way, like pushing this angle, and that'll show me with the striations on the blade where this thing is cutting. And if I lose track, if I say where I wonder where it's going, I just switch. I just go this way. Instead of going this way, I go this way. And then you can tell where your edge is at. My eyesight is so nearsighted that I don't need a microscope. I just look, and when it's in focus for me, I'm like a microscope. All right, now I've got it pretty much all the way. This is where the heel of the knife is where you're gonna spend most of your time straightening it out, because a lot of times they do a halfway decent job along the edge, and then when they get to the tip, you have to pay some attention to it. But usually here is where they just really steep angle it, like if your angle down here was 20, over here it's going to be like 45 or something, I mean, they just go crazy. They just, like, they don't care. They just give up, or they stop. They're worried about, that's what you got a choil for. Anyways, this one's good all the way down. As far as like pushing on it and everything, you really shouldn't be pushing a lot of pressure on this thing. You just leave the weight of the stones here and let it go. Don't add any extra force to it. Just go, you're just guiding it basically up here. This is just for your hands to guide it. All right, so I 320 that side. Another thing I like about this thing is you just push this little button in the back. Oh, this fell off. I pushed down on it by mistake. Push this button in the back, and boom, you're ready to go. Put this guy back in. It's the first time it fell out, but I was pushing down like on my thumb with it. All right, so now we're at 320. I want to mark this side again, the other side. Get over here and mark it. You're murdered out. You're all murdered out. All right, and then we push on this, and we see pretty close. This part of it is pretty close. Oh, you hear that? I think I'm scraping this. I think I'm scraping this guy. No. There's actually clearance there. There's clearance. What's your vector, Victor? Yeah, I hear some, I don't know. Yeah, it's sanding this guy. Oh, well, let it sand it down. So your only other, if I move the blade now, if I move it out now, I'm going to change the angle on everything. So I'm just going to let it sand it down. Yeah, that's my only thing about this is, see, we're at 20 degrees. We're not even trying to get down here. And like I said, the lower you get down with this, the closer you're going to come in contact with that. And I can't really push this guy out too much further. I couldn't clamp it out too much further. It has a problem with small blades and stuff. This is not really a super small blade, but that's why it's good to have a variety of sharpening systems. If it doesn't need a reprofiling, I could just slap it on the Lansky turn box, and be good with it. But if you're going to try to match up your angles, this is usually the better way to go. All right, let me look at that. See, down here was good for once. I had already sharpened this before. And up here it just needs to come back some. We'll keep working on this. I'll pause this because it's going to be a super long video. So then switching over to 600 is, as simple as rotating it. And with the 600, what I'm doing is I'm taking all the styrations out from before and starting to smooth it up. Now, I'm not so much necessarily checking a burr all the time and everything, because I'm basically just taking out these styrations. And I'll do it on one side and then the other. And then at the very last, before I switch over to the next grit of stone, I'll check and see if I got a burr going on. But you can knock the burr off, and like Gizmo was saying, to see it best, you need like a magnifying glass, and then you can see the little wire edge that forms and everything. But right now, like I said, this is just a styration removal phase and everything. I think I got it all the way I want it on the other side. The more you keep doing this, the more metal you're taking off, So you want to take off as much metal as you can on the first, strongest grit. And then on these guys, you shouldn't have to be reprofiling. Every time you do it, it should be, contacting the entire edge. And so all you're really doing is you're not going to get all the styrations out because you're creating a few with this 600. And then we switch over to ceramic. Now this is where you start polishing it. And with this, you could just use a gum eraser or something like that to clean it up. Now this guy starts to really, it starts doing more of a polish to it. Here's where you could start to get your mirror edge if you wanted a mirror edge. I'm more thinking about how it does to the edge itself, honing it. I don't know why I'm zoomed in so super zoomed. Get right up in there. You've seen how I see, because I look over the top of my glasses. I stick my face right in there, and I'm just watching it as it goes. If it was something that would take a long time reprofiling, then I would use the motorized, one. But the motorized one, it kicks up dust, and it's fast. It's a lot faster than this. But this, I can kind of like feel the metal more, if you're working with a steel you're not used to. I'm used to a 448, but if you're working with D2, I got myself. Did I cut myself? It was just on the edge. I slipped off and caught it right there. Just on the tip of the skin. I'm fine. Accidents may happen during the filming of this video. And I won't edit it out, man. If I start gushing blood everywhere, then I'll put a warning in there and I'll say, warning, blood gushing coming, blood gushing approaching. All right, rotate this guy over. Do the same thing on this side. It don't take a long time, but I have edited some of this out, so it at least takes the length of this video. Of course, I'm explaining some of this stuff and, stop and taking a break every once in a while in between. All right, don't fall off the blade again and get yourself. Yeah, you really can't feel. I can feel it with that. The fingernail. And you just go back and forth. You really shouldn't. I don't know about those braces if you really need them, because you shouldn't be using a lot of force on this. But I think I already said that. You're repeating yourself. You're repeating yourself. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. All right. I think we're good with this. I'll just do one last pass here. Oh, get back up there. Yeah, this magnet doesn't hold it super strong up there if you're flopping around with it and everything. But if you're just doing the normal, I think it's a pretty good system. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by Workshop. I bought this one myself. Even if it was donated, like when Toby and family send stuff, I'll still give you my honest opinion of the tool. I'm not going to let whether I paid for it or not influence me. But there you go. Fairly good, fairly good. And then we just, you can take this guy out and, you know, look at him. Still be clamped. I like that. All right, so I think that's good enough. This is before stroppage. I don't have a whole lot of paper here to play with, but I got more. Just pretty good. A little stroppage, I think we're going to have really good. Now we do a little stroppage. If you check Jersey Knife Guys, Peter's one of his latest videos, he was talking about strops and everything, and showed a place where you can get a pretty good one. I guess Knives Plus or something like that. But it's a strop block. It's bigger than this one. All right, so on stropping, I usually go with the coarser side first. I just put the edge on there and I just push back. Never go forward on your strop or you'll get cuts, which you'll forget sometimes and do. You'll think you're on a wet stone and you'll go the other way. A little bit of this, then I switch over to the other side. This is not completely embedded. Get out of there, you hair. There's a hair out there. Well, we can see if it's hair shaving sharp. There's a difference between hair shaving and hair splitting. This is probably not going to be hair splitting because of the angle. You're going to have to lay it back pretty far, I think. The smoother side tends to contact the whole surface more of the bevel. You're not pushing down real hard. All right, let's try. Paper, my kingdom for some paper. All right, I got a little piece right here. Still a little, I don't know, yeah, pretty good. Let me cut your arm off. Will it cut your arm off? Oh yeah. It still needs some more work. It's cutting hair. Yeah, it's cutting hair. Shave that arm, shave that hair. See, it's shaving. It's doing the shaving thing. Let's look at our bevel. Let's look at our edge up close. A lot of people don't like, you know, sharpening videos and stuff like that. It's understandable, you know, they either send it off or they already know how to do it. I like to watch them even if I already know how to sharpen because you might pick up some tips or tricks. See, it's not mirror I don't care, you know. As long it's more of how it functions. A lot of times on some steels a toothier edge works better than a super mirror polished edge because it acts like a little saw blade. So yeah, this is pretty good. Zombie Nick. I like this better than the razor blade profile that it came in. And the tip is not proud or anything. Fits in there perfectly. You still keep your little blade etch on there. Yeah, it came close. I almost lost the friends. Friends don't let friends eat friend. But yeah, it saved it. So there you go. I hope you found that interesting. I know this is super long. I'll have to break it into 2 parts. But there you go. And I wish this was glow in the dark. I could put a layer of stuff like I did. See, this was a buckshot bone. Barlow. This is another one I wish they would come back with. They've increased their buckshot bone line, but they haven't returned this guy. And this is a perfect little teardropage. But this guy really glows. He really glows in the dark. All right, stop talking. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.